greets our students at the door every morning and gives them a handshake or a high five. He knows their names and he wants to be a positive influence in their lives. He strives to make a difference for everyone he meets each day. Richard is truly one of a kind. Mercer Elementary considers him a blessing to their school, and they are forever grateful for his smiles, positive attitude, and incredible work ethic. Mr. Richard Bailey, custodian at Mercer Elementary. Next, we have board recognizes, and these are certificates of achievement for the West Virginia Educators Rising competition. Educators Rising West Virginia is a career technical student organization dedicated to inspire high school students to serve their communities by entering in the field of education. A nonprofit organization committed to developing and supporting the next generation of highly skilled educators through hands-on experience, leadership, and collaboration. They hope to offer future educators the opportunity to network with a community that supports their journey. The following have placed in their respective categories. And first we have Taylor Carson, and she is a gold recipient for children's literature K through 3. Okay, next we have Erica Coley, and she won gold for lesson plan and delivery arts. Erica's not here? Give her a hand anyway.
She will be. You know, we just got back from Steele's yesterday, and so they didn't find out till Saturday, and someone had to work.
Next we have Heidi Christ, silver in interactive bulletin board. Our next is a team, Lyric Taylor, Brayson Bailey, and Jason Hajinga. They won silver in ethical dilemma. Got one here.
You were a student teacher in a classroom, and they were trying to, the teacher was doing actually one of the lessons improperly, and you were trying to decide whether to report it or not, because they were trying to defend it. All kinds of.
Congratulations.
Ready?
Okay, our next recipient is Gracie White for bronze in lesson plan delivery humanities. Next we have Charlie Adkins for bronze in lesson plan delivery in STEM. No, Charlie. And I'm not sure about this last name. Rain Ann Mann, hooray, bronze in Ed Rising Moment. Okay, that concludes our board recognized.
We'll get Steve first, Steve McBride.
We are so very proud of our students that want to become educators. It's so important that they devote their time. And I've said this before, if you ever survey Mercer County teachers and ask how many were born here or have lived here a long time, 85, 90% of the people in the room raise their hands. So, I mean, we're growing our own because it's the best thing we can do. And so we're going to move on to Mr. McBride, I ready.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
See if you let them go.
While he's getting ready, we appreciate you. You're welcome to stay and be with us the whole time, but if you want to go, we understand that too. So now would be a good time to make a break.
That's how for room.
Okay, everybody's good.
Psyched you out.
These two were,
Unplugged.
these two were off.
All right, folks, if you're not comfortable, we can go down and sit and watch.
I'm fine.
Okay. Whatever works.
Good evening, everybody. I think we're ready to. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve McBride. I'm an educational consultant for a company called Curriculum Associates. You use one of our products here in Mercer County called iReady. And I'm here today to tell you just a little bit about iReady, how it works, and a little bit about how Mercer County's doing well implementing the program. Questions are appropriate at any point in time. So let me just jump right in. And big overview of iReady is two different things. So there's an assessment program. Primarily, it's this adaptive diagnostic assessment for kindergarten through 12th grade. So when kids go in there to take this test, it's going to take somewhere around 45 minutes, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, depends on the student. It goes all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade and it adapts. And I'll explain what I mean by adaptive in a minute. We have some other forms of assessment that are built into it, required by state law. One of those is universal screening. So iReady serves as a universal screener. It also provides dyslexia screening as required by state code. So there's a lot of testing, and a lot of people think of iReady as an assessment, and it is. But it's actually also an instructional system tied to that assessment. So what happens with this program in simple terms is kids take the test 3 times a year, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And it takes about 45 minutes or so for students to complete that assessment in reading or in math. Once they complete that assessment, the system creates or sets up a sequence of interactive online video lessons for each student that we like to think is a very close match to that student's needs based on that assessment. So students will work through these lessons and the system will track their progress, report it back to teachers, and then teachers can manage the system, assign their own lessons from iReady to the student if they so desire, and monitor the progress of students as they work through this. So that's iReady assessment and instruction. Also tied to the assessment system is a digital textbook system for both reading and math. So the books are hooked into the assessment. It'll say something like this to the teacher. Steve is in your 5th grade class, but he's placed at the 4th grade level in reading or math, and he needs the following lessons out of the 4th grade book. Teachers have access to every page of every book, kindergarten through 8th grade, for both reading and math, and they can go find that lesson and teach it in a small group or whole group situation. So that's the big picture. What I'd like to do is talk about the adaptive nature of the assessment next. And so adaptive means this. We're going to put a student in at the grade level they're assigned to. So if they're a 5th grader, they start at the beginning of 5th grade on the assessment. And as they respond to questions, the assessment will either get easier when they miss questions or to get more difficult when they get them right. So the assessment itself is designed for kids to get about half the questions right. And after about 45 minutes, we'll come out of that assessment with a proficiency level for the student on West Virginia learning standards that will tell us where that student is from a grade level proficiency perspective. So the important thing to know about iReady is that it's a criterion referenced assessment primarily, which means that it's measuring the student's attainment of West Virginia standards on grade level. But it's also referred to as a normed reference test. So behind the test are what we call the domains in both reading and math, and there are sub-skill categories. So when you look at the fine print on either the reading or the math, we have questions on the assessment that are associated with those sub-skills. And based on how students respond to those questions, we come out with that proficiency level for students.
Can I stop you just a minute?
Yes, sir.
Can a student that is excelling go beyond the grade level they're on?
Yes, it works both ways for kids. So below grade level, it will meet the kids where they are. On grade level, it meets them where they are. And let's say we have, back to my example, I'm a 5th grader, but I'm placed at the 6th grade on this test, then I'm going to receive 6th grade material. So it will accelerate those kids who are above grade level. It'll meet those kids who are on grade level right where they are. And it'll meet those kids that are below grade level and bring their prerequisite skills up to grade level so they can understand the core instruction. So it meets every student, no matter where they are in that continuum, exactly where they are. And that's a good question. Yes, sir.
I thought I heard you say that they would take a test on reading or math. Is it reading or reading and?
It's both. It's both subjects, reading and math. And then the teacher really decides which test do you take first, what do you do as far as which instruction. So back to the criterion versus norm. So very quick word on this. Norm reference assessments tell you where kids are in comparison to other kids. So we all learned about the bell curve. So if you're a 50 percentile kid in the middle of that bell curve, what that tells you and your parents is half the kids in the country are performing below you and half the kids in the country above you. So the percentile gives you kind of a feel for where you fit in comparison to all the other kids. But the important data is the criterion reference data that tells us where the kids are in attainment of those grade level standards. And that's what all teachers are held accountable for. So, important point is that every question in the iReady assessment is mapped to a West Virginia standard. So that gives us the ability to produce this thing that we call a West Virginia Standards Report. So what this report does for teachers, and I would have killed to have had this when I taught. If you're a 7th grade math teacher, or you're a 4th grade reading teacher, or just a 4th grade teacher, this will tell you where every student is in your class in attainment of the grade level standards that you're held responsible for teaching. So the way this works is kids take the test at the beginning of the school year. We call that a benchmark. So we know where they are when school begins. And we know where they are in attainment of the standards at the beginning of the school year. Now keep in mind, if you're a 5th grader, beginning your 5th grade year, you haven't been taught 5th grade standards. So you don't know 5th grade yet, and that's what you're going to get over the course of the year. So I'm going to show you some data in a minute that lines up with that. But what this report does is let every teacher know whether the kids have learned the standard, have not learned it, or have partial mastery of the standard, and if not, what to do to help the students. Last thing I'll say about the assessment is we have linked or done a linking study between the iReady assessment and the West Virginia General Summative Assessment to determine whether or not they both say the same thing about the same kids. So we did a correlation analysis on spring data from last year, and that analysis showed that we have a very high correlation. Anything over a 0.7 is statistically significant, and what this means is that the two tests are testing the same thing and producing the same results for the same kids. So the best way to learn about iReady is to go in there and look at it. So I'm going to take about 5 minutes and show you 1 or 2 or 3 key reports. Some come from our demo data. Now I can't by federal and state law share real student data in a public meeting. So I can't pull up a Mercer County kid and say, oh, look at this kid. I wouldn't have a job if I did that the next day. So I'll show you some demonstration data that's not real, but I'll show you some high-level Mercer County data that is real. So give me just a second to pull up the website.
Can you possibly share this PowerPoint?
So I've already logged into what we call, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Could you share the PowerPoint with us?
Oh, yeah, I will email, can I email it to Ernie or Ed?
Absolutely, and then
Yeah,
I'll share it
sure,
with
I'll
us.
take care of that.
Absolutely.
So I've logged into what we call our iReady demonstration website, and I'm looking at a teacher's class. Mrs. Aguilar is a 5th grade teacher, And you see some colors on the screen. So I'm going to simply say green's good, yellow is caution, and red is not so good. But more specifically, when you see green that's shaded, those are kids that are mid and on grade level. And solid green are kids that are early on grade level. Yellow are kids that are 1 grade level behind, and red, they could be 2 or more grade levels behind. So we're looking at a 5th grade class with about 20 kids in it. And what you see on the screen are what we refer to as the domains in math. So you see numbers and operations, algebra, measurement, data, and geometry. And you see how the students in this teacher's class are performing across those domains. Now, what I want to do very quickly is show you the kids, and then we'll look at one student in particular. So if I scroll down a bit, you start to see students. And as I do, you're going to see several colors. And these are the students that are in this teacher's class. So again, green is good, yellow caution, and red not so good. So when you see a student that's got yellow, you're going to notice they're a grade level or more behind. And if it's red or 2 or more, and we disaggregate that data into those domains so teachers can address the instructional needs of the kids down to the domain level. Now, it's pretty easy to look at that and understand at a glance what it means. But if I click on a particular student, now we've gone down to the student level. And what I want to show is the way this thing works is that this is a 5th grade student, Danielle Baker, and you see 3 bars on the screen, 3 vertical bars. The first one on the left is the first test of the year, around early September, late August. The second is mid-year, so I'll say around mid-December, mid-January. And then the third off to the right is the final test of the year around early June. So this is the way it works for every kid. And what we can do with the students is track their progress through the year to see if they're actually learning anything and how much they're learning as they go through this. So as you look at Danielle, she was in the 5th grade, and she's gone through her entire 5th grade year, and she's ended up the year, she's made it into that, what we call the green zone. So the green zone is on grade level, but she just barely made it. So Danielle is a 5th grader that's made it all the way through 5th grade, but just barely made it into the beginning of 5th grade. But she's grown tremendously through the year and had tremendous success. So that's very briefly a student. So what I'd like to do is show you what a little bit of Mercer County data. So I am logged into Mercer County Schools as a administrator. And what you see is 1 bar on the screen right now. So you have a bar, and we're looking at math performance. And this is math performance that we refer to as mid-year. So the kids in Mercer County took the second assessment of the year around December the 12th to about the middle of January. So you see the green. So you're looking at 8 plus 13. So you're looking at about 21% at the mid-year. Now what I want to do is compare this very quickly to the first assessment of the year. And then I want to talk about it a little bit. So dates on the screen now, and you see 2. So this is a comparison of where the kids started at the beginning of the year to where the kids are roughly the middle of December when they finished that second assessment. So you can see what happened to the yellow and the red from the beginning. That little bar that's kind of shaded out on the bottom is where the school system started the year and where they were in roughly the middle of December. So we turned a lot of yellow into green and a lot of red into yellow. Yes, sir.
So this test is being taken, this is all students in Mercer County?
Yes.
All right, but if this was a particular grade level,
The same kind of setup.
it would be the same setup, but we would be seeing, let's say, a 7th grader took it at the beginning of their 7th grade year.
Yes.
So the expectation is they're not gonna know a lot about 7th grade
That's
math.
exactly right. And so when you see all that yellow on the screen right there, those kids are supposed to be yellow. So a lot of people get concerns like, how come we don't have all our kids on grade level and why aren't they all green? Well, they're not supposed to be green until the end of the year because they haven't all taught, they haven't learned all their grade level content yet because they're only through a half a year. So those kids that are in the yellow, by the time we get to roughly the first week or so of June, many of those students in yellow will have turned green and will be on grade level. Mark, looks like you have a question.
No,
Let me show you the reading aspect of this is going to be similar. this is reading. You're gonna notice a little bit more green in reading than there is math. Every school system in West Virginia does better in reading than they do in math. I mean, it's not Mercer County, it's everywhere across the state. It's the nature of the beast. So this is also a strong report. So thinking about when the kids started in early September, that's the bottom bar. And at the top bar is where they were in about mid-December. So a lot more kids in the green, a lot less kids in the yellow and the red. Well, actually more kids in the yellow because they shifted. Or no, less in the yellow. But you can see how they shift over the course of the year. So this is a sign that the kids in Mercer County are learning and growing the way we would expect them to. So at the end of the year, I'll be gone by the end of the year. I'm getting ready to retire. I was gonna say, I'd come back. But I may be gone, but I could still be around. So maybe you'll invite me back in here and say, here's where we were at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then you get to see the entire school year and how it's gone. Now, this is an indication that the educators in Mercer County are doing a lot of things correctly and not just using iReady correctly, but they're teaching the kids on a regular, with or without iReady. They're doing a good job because the kids are learning. Otherwise, you would have less green and more red and yellow. So this is an indicator of success. So I get the advantage of, we have 44 counties in West Virginia that use iReady. So I get to see every county's data. And so it takes me about 2 seconds to figure out, is this thing going well or not? So I can go to this view of looking at the diagnostic data. There's another way to look at the data to determine if things are going well, or as they should be. So I'm going to go to this, and this will be the last thing I'll show you, I think. Personalized instruction summary. And I'm going to look at it from the viewpoint of the entire school year up until now. So the kids started back in September. And I'm going to say about September 18th or so with the instructional component, and they've gone to the day. So I'm going to apply that. So what this is showing you right now, and this is reading, you're seeing a number on the screen, 12 hours and 15 minutes. That's the average time that a student has spent using the iReady instruction over the course of the entire school year. So here's what, on the instructional side and from a time perspective, what we like and what we want is roughly a student in there about 45 minutes a week doing reading and 45 minutes a week doing math. So think about, doesn't sound like that much. Maybe that's 10 minutes a day. It might be 45 minutes all in one day. It depends on how the teachers want to do it, and it doesn't make that much difference how they structure it. So there's 2 key metrics here. This is the entire compass of reading with iReady in Mercer County Schools this year. The 2 metrics are, we want students in there 30 to 45 minutes per week using the program. And we want the students, you see that pie chart off to the right? We want them to have a passage rate of 70% or higher. So there's a quiz at the end of these video lessons. They take that quiz and we track their progress. If they're failing every lesson, that means something's not right within the system. That doesn't normally happen. So when you have this metric of, and if you do 12 hours, we're about 23, 24 weeks into the school year. Kids are getting about 30 to 40 minutes a week, which is exactly what we want. They're passing the lessons exactly the way we want. So when I'm looking at the data for a school system, the first place I go is this. If you're not using it, it won't work. 45 minutes a week is not that much, and it's really not that much, but it's a struggle sometimes to get it all in because there's a lot going on in a school. So let me show you math, and then we'll wrap this up. So math is also good. A little bit more usage, and notice that the passage rate in math is much higher than it is in reading. That's because reading's tougher in some ways for kids. The comprehension aspect of it's a little bit tougher, and it's like that across the state of West Virginia in every district. So this is also healthy. This means the kids are getting the minutes in, they're passing the lessons at a high percentage, and that they're learning. And when we see this, what we see is growth from the kids over the course of time. This is why every time I go into a district's login, I go here first. It's like, are they using it? Are they using it appropriately? Are the kids passing the lessons? And then I go look at the diagnostic results and compare to see if they've grown or not.
Steve?
Yes.
A couple of questions. Up in the top pull-down menu,
Yes.
it says all schools.
Yes.
Is this all schools, Mercer County, all
Yeah,
schools are
schools
state?
Mercer.
Okay, So it's-
Kindergarten through 8th grade.
And so therefore, this data is actually up to date that you're presenting here?
Yes, it is. So, I've got 2 more slides to show you, and we'll take some more questions if you like, but I'll wrap this up. So, this next one is the prisons of already in West Virginia. So there are 44 counties in West Virginia that use this program on a district-wide basis. So it hasn't always been this way. I've been with the company about 10 years, and when I first started 10 years ago, we didn't have a single student, and I had no idea how I was going to get anybody to buy this stuff. But as it's turned out, it works beautifully in a lot of places, and a lot of counties have had great success with it. And so 44 counties use it every day. And we have about 180,000 students in West Virginia that use it, and about 13 million across the country. So pretty strong presence. Next thing I want to tell you is this, and this pertains to Mercer County. This program will not work if teachers don't participate in the professional development, and if the county district leaders don't embrace that. So Mercer County has done this year, I think, and Ernie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 3 days of training for every school in Mercer County. You may have just completed some of that professional development just recently. So this is what our recommendation to counties is the professional development is what makes it work. And we don't just come in and do it all at one time and say, let's just pile teachers into one day and we'll just kill them in 8 hours of training. So the way this generally works is we want to train teachers before they start. So before kids come back, we do about 3-hour training in every school. And then the teachers give the test, and I'm going to say about the middle of September. Then we have data from the school. We want to go back about 5 weeks after that, and let's talk about the data for this school, and let's begin to adjust the instruction according to the data. And then we get the second assessment around December. Then we have 2 sets of data. We have the beginning, we have the middle, and we know how much kids have grown from the beginning to the middle, and we're going to set up the instructional process for the rest of the school year. So what I'm going to say in closing is this, that this school system is, in the first year of implementing this program, has done a fantastic job. It's hard to implement a program across a district the size of Mercer County and change from one form of assessment that everyone was comfortable with for many years into a second assessment. It's like, whose idea was this? I already knew how to do the other stuff. So it's not easy, but the system is invested heavily. The teachers, the principals, and the central office have bought into it, and you're beginning to get great results. And I'll also say this, it takes more than 1 year to climb to the top. You all are on the right track. I've been tracking I used to be, and Ed and I should have told you that, I've known Ed for like 30 years.
You can go ahead and tell them. They need to hear something
I
good.
don't want to tell all the stories. I'm not sure they'll still be around if we go that far.
Yeah.
But, so Ed and I worked on a system that prior to iReady, we did all this stuff manually by hand. So what Ed and I, with another gentleman who really taught us how to do it, we would analyze the state test data for every kid, figure out what they missed and why they missed it, and then try to figure out a curriculum that would align to those students and meet their needs. iReady sort of does that in an automated way. We would spend hours and hours back in the mid-90s trying to figure all that stuff out. So I could tell you more stories about it. But anyway, back to the professional development. You all have done a great job with it. The teachers are becoming very comfortable. And the good news is the teachers have a year of experience with it. They've gone through the training. And you don't need to do a lot more professional. Like I said, I already know how to do it. So it gets less expensive and the implementation gets stronger over time. So we've seen many counties who were at the bottom in math and reading proficiency rise to the top. It doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen without the hard work of teachers and principals and central office staff. So the last thing I have to say is this, that number one, I want to thank you all for the opportunity. I love to come out and talk to counties. I don't often get invited, but I got invited here. We're going to 3 or 4 others soon. It's a privilege and a pleasure, not only to come here and speak to, but to partner with Mercer County Schools and to try to help improve outcomes for students. So with that said, more questions? You haven't asked me anything hard that I don't know about.
Just a comment. I was principal when I got to know Steve McBride, but he was the executive director of school improvement of the department. So that's why I got to know him pretty well, because he's over the West Virginia School Improvement is what it's called, executive director.
That's correct. And so I still kind of have that in my head, the school improvement thing. So having the opportunity to work with 44 counties, I can see their data 3 times a year, the beginning, the middle, and the end when the assessment is done. So it gives me a bird's eye view of the success of almost every county in West Virginia. And I'm just going to tell you that Mercer County is on the right track. You all are about middle of the road as far as proficiency goes right now, and you're set to grow. And so I kind of wish I wasn't retiring, because I'd love to come back here a year or 2 from now and do this again and say, hey, when I came back, what is it, 224 and 226, look where you are now. Because that's what's happened for a lot of counties that have done this and done it well, and you are on the right track to do that. So I do appreciate the opportunity, and I will send the PowerPoint, and if you have follow-up questions, like, I wish I'd asked him this, then Ed knows how to find me, and we're very responsive to anyone who asks questions. It is a privilege to work with Mercer County Schools, and you are heading in the right direction to really improve outcomes for kids.
So, when children are tested on math, are they math problems? Is part of what they're doing just
Yes.
3 digits multiplication
Yeah, it'll
and?
be a word, so our assessment in the test is very similar to the state's general summative assessment. So the question, what kids will see is a lot of content on grade level, and it'll go up and down as kids respond. And what we tell kids when they're in there taking is like, they're not supposed to know the answer to every question, so here's what happens on that assessment. It used to be when I went to school, everybody in a class would always finish the test before I did, and I always felt like, this isn't boding well for me. I'm like the last one to finish, and I don't think it looks good. The way this test works, the last kid to finish the assessment is almost always the smartest kid in the class. Because what's happened is this test is adapted up to a level where the student is struggling to get the questions right, and those kids that make those straight A's don't like missing questions, and they will grind a math problem out in 30 minutes if you let them. So we'll tell them, make your best guess and let's just move on, and they'll go to the next question. If it's too hard, they're missing, they'll start to drop down, and it finds that sweet spot for the kids. But it's about 45 minutes. For some kids, it'll take a little longer, and for some kids, it'll take a little bit
So
less.
let me ask it a different way, because
that-
I get frustrated over math and what children know in math, because the state assessment tends to be heavy on word problems. But word problems are not just math. Word problems are reasoning and logic. So you're testing a different thing. Do you test straight out math skills on iReady?
Oh,
Just
yes.
straight out math skills?
Yeah,
No,
just the
here's my
numbers.
math problem.
Yes, we do both. We do both.
I understand-
the kids
I
are gonna
understand
get
that,
exposure,
right.
But they're gonna also get exposure to those word problems. And so what's gonna happen is, let's say that those kids might know the math, but they might not understand the vocabulary and the words, the academic vocabulary within those word problems. Our research shows that's the bigger problem often, is they don't understand the words and the vocabulary. They can do the math if they can understand what it says. So once we realize the test will pick up on that, and so if the kids are struggling with the words, what we're gonna do is send them lessons on those words that they need, the academic vocabulary, in order to get over the hump on the math. So the test can tell, is it the words, is it the math, is it a combination of both? And then we sequence, and I didn't go deep enough into the student thing. So what happens with this, so you saw those domains, so you think about math. So in math, the foundational skill is numeracy. Can you do arithmetic, basically? You can't add, subtract, multiply, and divide. You're certainly not gonna do well in algebra or geometry or maybe even measurement. So in reading, it's phonics, phonemic awareness, those sort of things. So once we know what the problem is, so if it's, let's say it's geometry. So Danielle Baker was low in geometry. She's 4th grade at the end of 5th grade year. So what happens is we prioritize based on where they are. And so come back to your word problem versus the math problem. It's like, is it a vocabulary reading problem, or is it just a math computational problem? And so, or is it a combination of both? So we're gonna prioritize the skills that the kid needs based on that assessment. And if it's the words, we're gonna focus on the words. If it's the math, we're gonna focus on the math. And depending on what the math is, we're gonna focus on that. Is it geometry, is it algebra, is it numeracy? So we prioritize the instructional flow, the sequence of lessons based on where the kid is. And then they take that assessment the second time, it updates the entire thing based on the most recent assessment for that student. So it's really, you're tuned into the right thing. So the biggest problem we have in math is the academic vocabulary that goes with it and all those word problems. And so there's a 2nd grade standard that talks about, there's a 2nd grade standard that says something like, kids will solve word problems using 2-digit multiplication or something like that. So So that standard goes from second grade to third grade to fourth grade, and it becomes more difficult, but it spirals up through that. And it's always about the word problems. And this is where we see the kids fail because they can't. If you can't read, then you're not gonna do well in math. I mean, it's just that simple. So reading is the highest priority. And math is also, you can't be successful in life, you can't do both. So your spot, you used to be a teacher, right?
No, but I've done this a long time, and
So
it's
it's
a
interesting that
great
you know-
frustrating area for me. Is
Yeah,
that
well, it's probably the reason why I'm not a doctor or a lawyer.
There you go.
Math is frustrating, but it's interesting that you know that about the vocabulary part. Academic vocabulary, critical. Thanks for having me, Ed. I know I went off
Thank
the
you,
track.
and thank you, Dr.
I have a
Atkins.
question- I have a couple of questions. As far as administrative tools that the building supervisors have, or supervisors in the county, do they have access to tools that shows them time on task by classroom? So is the data's, has an aggregate location where they can look and see if the teachers.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yes.
I guess the other big thing, and this is kind of the proof's in the pudding kind of deal, is, I don't know if you call them lessons. Did you have something else you called them?
We call them interactive video lessons.
Okay, the video lessons. It'd be interesting to see the correlation between those lessons and accomplishment on the different levels of understanding. And the reason I say that, as an old school teacher, sometimes videos just don't cut it.
Oh,
That classroom teacher that needs to understand, and they can go, in 5 minutes of individual instruction will
Absolutely.
cure something quicker than a video
I
will
couldn't agree
sometimes.
with you more. There's nothing more important than a classroom teacher.
I guess that's what I'm getting at. The teacher also has access to identified deficiencies.
Yes, so
Okay.
let's think of this as if you're that classroom teacher, and you're a good teacher, if you've got, and you're an elementary teacher, you've got 20, 25 kids at the beginning of the year, you don't know them from Adam.
I can't imagine.
Within a week or two, a really good teacher's gonna understand where those kids are and what their needs are. But if you're a middle school teacher, and you got 160 kids coming at you 7 times a day, it's harder to get to know those kids. But so the data from this test will tell the teachers exactly where every kid is, and really exactly what every kid needs. So let's say, back to the teacher, a kid goes in there and they start working on a lesson in iReady, one of these interactive things, and they fail it, and it does happen, the kids do fail them. And let's say we send them, normally we'll send them the lesson to them a second time, so I'm trying one more time, they fail it. We'll send them the next lesson, and if they fail that, we're gonna shut it off. It's like, look, we're not going any further with this kid because this is not going well, we don't waste your time. So we turn it off and we tell the teacher, this is shut off, you need to help this kid. We're not sure what's wrong, but there's a mismatch. We say, kid took a test, here's a lesson that matches based on that test, but the kid's failing the lesson. So something's not quite right. We can't fix it without the teacher. We have to have the teacher involved.
That's why it's so important. The teachers are really the key link.
This is just a tool for teachers to use, and this is like, and way I used to be a shop teacher too, so I think about a saw, a hammer, a drill. If you've never used one before, you know exactly how to put the bit in and how to make the screwdriver. I mean, it takes some experience.
Mhm.
That's why the training's important. So it's a tool, and it's only as good as the people who use it. That's why the professional development's really important.
I used to tell this story to my teachers because I think the teacher is the fundamental part of education. But when I was a kid, our books, Mr. Hodges there, books were black and white. Therefore, all your graphs, I don't know if you noticed, you did the hash marks. I'm colorblind. So, fairly severely colorblind. I can see some color. But the hash marks help tremendously because it's hard for me to differentiate, especially at a distance, the green from the yellow. So when textbooks went from black and white to color, everybody was excited because now we can do all of our graphs in color. Well, guess what? It didn't work for me. And I can remember that very clearly, having to take the paper and try to shade to figure out. That's where your teacher comes in. A teacher noticed that with me, and I passed the color test because I just figured out that dark brown was red and light brown was brown, and But again, the teachers, I don't know if we've got many teachers
Well, I'll
here.
say this.
That's the key link.
This stuff is great. I mean, I love it.
It's a tool.
But I would, if I had to choose between this and a high-quality teacher for my kids, I'd pick the teacher every time. But this is, but when you add this to a high-quality teacher and enable he or she to do a better job looking at the data and understanding how to manage this, they become even better.
I really like.
But I agree with everything you said about the teacher. It will not work.
Well, it's a very interesting tool, and I'm glad that Mercer County.
And so just back to the time, and I'll quit. 45 minutes per week, think about 10 minutes a day, reading and math. So it's not a real time, it's a struggle for teachers to get the time in. So we're not stealing a lot of instructional time from the teacher.
Well, I would guess that the way that the program's designed, it's probably going to not focus on what you know by the nature of the beast. It's going to focus on what you don't know, which is really where learning occurs to begin with.
And most of the idea, you think about intervention for the kids that are below grade level, but it works for every kid, on grade level and above grade level as well, because they can accelerate. And what happens in a teacher's classroom is oftentimes they're focusing on those kids that need the most help. And those kids that are up above grade level, it's like they're going to be okay on their own, but it's still not fair. You know, and so this kind of balances that out a little bit.
Why does it stop at the 8th grade?
Pardon?
Why does it stop at the 8th grade?
Well, we are working to build it beyond 8th grade, and we'll have an algebra program next year. And we're building our way into it, but the company itself has been very resistant to go until we're very high quality, and they want to go beyond that until we're ready and we have a really good product to do it with. We'd love to branch into social studies science, but right now reading and math are our main thing. But we're moving up to the grade levels.
Well, it appears that the legislature, you know, they've got the K2, K3 program, and they're going to expand it up to like the 6th grade. But it's like they've abandoned the secondary kids. And my wife's a teacher. She had 3 students come. She teaches special ed, but before Christmas, she had 3 students come and ask her if she could teach them to read. One of the boys said that he comes from a poor family. He needs to get an after-school job and a driver's license, and he can't read to pass the driver's test. So, you know, what do you do with, I mean, she's working with him with what she learned from the Title I program last year, but, you know, we're failing those kids. We're doing, hopefully, and I always say this, the legislature in their infinite wisdom is doing things so the future will be better, but in the meantime, we've abandoned a whole block of children.
Well, the other side of that is if a program like this does its job, hopefully you will have very, very few of those kids that don't have skills by the time they reach the 8th grade.
That's the idea.
And as a former 7th grade and 8th grade teacher, if you give me a kid who can read, I used to say this all the time, and write, comprehension, and can do some arithmetic, I can teach them a whole lot of science. Yep, the rest comes naturally. So I think that the K through 8 is great. It's teaching the basic skills. So hopefully, Jim, by the time they get to that point, those skills will be learned. It'll be easier for the teacher, not harder. But there's kids, let's face it, it's going to be lost sometimes.
Well, a lot of times, you know, it's the family, the parents, where they come from. It's hard to overcome. It can be done.
Well, not to mention, you may have kids coming in from other school districts or states that may not have had a program like this, and there's remediation that needs to occur. So.
Well, I'm going to talk the flip side of that, and it's, you know, if I had a 3rd grade kid that wasn't reading well, they'd be reading well by the 4th grade. Because we'd make sure that they were reading well by the 4th grade. The part you're forgetting about is the parents and the responsibility of the student themselves. You know, there's an element of that that's missing too in the culture here. And the thing I want to say about this is what testing is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be the tail that wags the dog. It's supposed to be used to help us remediate and figure out where kids' problems are and improve those, instead of being the tail that wags the dog on all education in America and the world for that matter. Everybody's competing on a test, and you know, the truth of the matter is once you get out of school, those tests are over, and that's not the way you do anything anymore.
Well, it used to be that, you know, we would say the purpose of assessment and testing is to inform instruction and change instructional practice. Help. We need to know what the kids don't know so we can address it. But what's happened is assessment is now accountability. So, you know, you ask an educator, what's the purpose of assessment? And the teacher's going to say, inform instruction. And then somebody in the state's going to say, accountability. And that's, you know, this program is to inform instruction. It's not accountability. It could be used for that, but that's not the
Well, it should be used by us as a element of that.
Yes.
Looking, if you see problems going, what's the, it instructs us on what's the problem there.
Exactly, and that's why it's valuable to administrators at the central office and principals to see where are we weak and how do we get better. And you don't know if you don't test. You have to know that.
Exactly. Other questions, anybody? Thank you so much for coming
Thank
out.
you for
We
being here.
appreciate it.
Welcome. I
It was
appreciate
very
it.
informative.
Steve, thank you. Good seeing you again, sir.
Before I retire, I'll see you. Thank you for having me, and thanks for the tech assistance. I appreciate it.
So, before the other board members ask, I think they probably have already thought this. We'd like to see the data, not just what he showed us, but I think we'd like to see it by school. Not by student, not by classroom, by school. Just by school and then by the county, and math and reading, and the pie chart and the bar, yeah.
Well, that fit perfectly in our 23, 32 policy, just updates.
Yeah, because we've got the two are done, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I was
we-
gonna say,
so we
what
know
have
where we
right
are.
now is BOI.
I know Don.
At the
Right.
beginning and
Yeah.
middle, yeah. I think middle is a good indicator of how things are
You
going.
can see overall, the data he showed you is Mercer
That
County.
was.
Yeah.
You know, it's, they've done a nice job, and the principals and teachers have done a nice job. You know, you look at all the metrics, the time on task, the reading and math, and look at the growth, you look at it. Now, at the central office level, I don't ever go beyond, look at the school and the grade levels, I never go beyond that. Because still, the principals, that's their job. It's not my job.
Exactly.
Teachers' names and things like
Right.
that. Or students' names, and, yeah, we can share that for the elementary.
I think the biggest key to this is to see the growth as it occurs.
Exactly.
That's it. I mean, as a teacher, that gives you, that puts caffeine in your coffee.
That's right.
I mean, it gives you something to be proud of. Those kids are responding to what you're doing in the classroom.
We've had a lot of success with it, and we've tried to front load the training and all the schools. What Steve was talking about, we had, like in late September and then again in January, we had teachers go to every school and spend a full day. Or, excuse me, trainers go to every school and spend a full day. And then if they were available, teachers in small groups or individually to answer their questions about individual students, lessons, tools, those types of things, and we had a lot of positive feedback.
Well, and that's exactly what we've said for years we need, and what we ought to be doing. We should be pre-assessing, monitoring progress, and then post-assessing.
Exactly.
That's
Yep.
exactly what this does.
For probably 20 years, we've been saying that. Well, good. I mean, I wanted, when I asked Mr. Toman to put this on the schedule, this is why. I wanted us to be more informed about what, because we keep hearing about iReady, but I think we needed to have a lot more,
Yeah, that's very informative.
a
It
lot
was
more
good.
information. He did a great job too, and please tell him that we appreciate it, and he did a great job.
And the feedback's been pretty positive from principals and teachers and.
And
I think,
Dr.
go ahead.
And Dr. Atkins did that with a pilot for a few schools, and then it just mushroomed from there and got everybody involved. So that's how we did that.
I
We
think
did not push it on there.
The only thing that I think you might hear is time. It's the pressure of time. And of course, the legislature decided to add a few more things this go around, so.
And one thing when I talk to teachers, I say, remember, these learning pathways and that time, addressing deficits or enriching, classroom teachers teaching second grade standards, third grade standards. So it's not taking away from you, replacing you, it's supporting you.
It's a tool, as we said, it's a tool. Well,
Well,
it's-
and each year, and we know this, at the beginning of the school year, you have the whole instructional program in front of you. And yes, your ideal is that you're going to go cover and teach everything and you're going to learn all the content. But we know that as we progress through the school year, you have to stop, reevaluate, reassess, reprioritize, and redefine your curriculum, what's most important, what's most valuable. And then you do that again. You do that, usually sometime in December. And then you turn around and do it again sometime in February or March, and then you do it again in May. Get to the end of the year, and why we not cover that, what we need for next year.
Right. Right, it's good, it's good stuff. Anything else on this, anybody? Mr. Coleman, let's go through your,
President Pruitt, just on my opening remarks and presentation, levy election, May 14th, it's 50 days away from election. Levy committee meeting, we have one scheduled for this Thursday at 6 o'clock. That would be E47. Mercer County Schools will also be hosting, we had a SESC meeting the other day, and we hosted that group here maybe a couple months ago. And we're going to host them again on April 17th. I'll let you know to attend that if you wish to, and there'll be a board member and a superintendent representative from the area SESC, and we're going to host that at 11 o'clock. And then the county Board of Education Policy and Procedure Project through the SESC, Jason Butcher, and former West Virginia School Board Association Executive Director, they would like to schedule a workshop with you all to go through the process that they're going to do with building the policy manual and procedure. And what they're looking at, Jason Butcher is available in Howard to Call on the week of April 22nd through the 26th, and looking at 9, 10, or 1. If you want to come up with that, we can select that at the end, or if you want to do that at this time.
We can do it at the end if we want.
Okay, we'll just remember to do that. And then heating and boiler updates at Mercer School should be ready soon. We had that update 2 weeks ago, and as Mr. Atkins said today, they're putting on the burner and wiring the high and low limits today, if I got that all correct. And I guess there'll be punch list on some checks there to see how that is the next few days, right?
Yeah, the specialist, he was trying to get him in last week, but there was an emergency in Greenbrier County, so he was there all week. He said it was closed back. We did some tests, and we had a couple of wells that we were trying that needed touched up, and he got working this afternoon on his end of it.
And the new Timberwood Elementary School updates, you have some positive news about that also,
Great
right?
news. We had our every other week meeting today, and during the meeting, we got a call from the wall cores that were last taken and sampled, and it came back at 3,700 PSI, which is acceptable within the working limits of what DMM was willing to sign off on, so we don't have to go any deconstruction on the wall again, so it's doing well, and I've included the meeting minutes from DCI Shires, and we're really progressing well, and as long as the weather keeps holding up, we'll be good to go. We spoke to AEP today, we're supposed to have full power in October.
what about the poll for whatever Remines is called now? Yeah.
I talked to AEP last week. I guess they got a call from Maxim about when it was going to be done. We're not really pressing for it because it's not affecting us, but I think our construction is affecting Maxim a little bit, so they're concerned with it. That's kind of, I mean, we're paying for it, but like I told Chris from AEP, I said, whenever it's good for you all. If Maxim needs it gone, then I'd suggest and urge that you do get it done immediately, because, I'd say that our concrete trucks that are up there constantly, because I was there today for a construction meeting, and I had to drive up and over the hill just to get out. So it was, it is a concern for Maxim, I'm sure. But Chris from AEP, he's our business consultant, and he said that they're definitely working on trying to get it done.
So the site, the way the building is sited on the property, was it always planned that way?
I can't speak to it.
Leslie, was it? Was the gym always gonna be the thing you saw when you came up the hill? The very first thing? Cause that's what you get is that gym.
Yes.
Yeah, we did it, that's the addition, that's the addendum that we added, the middle school gym, so none of the drawings all had that on it.
Okay, so they got it in their way they could get it in there, basically. Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure. Anybody else on any of the
That's all.
superintendent's comments?
President Pruitt, that's all I have.
All right,
Ready to roll.
okay.
No citizens input?
There's no citizens input today. Policy 2322.
We felt we got that taken
I
care of.
think we did.
So, yes, sir.
I think we did. All right.
Correct? Yeah, that's good. All right.
Let's roll then. I got the approval of the minutes of the March 8th, 24 and March 11th, 24 meetings. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second.
Jim has a
discussion.
Go ahead.
The minutes from March 11th, and this is just a nitpicky thing to let you know that I do read this. On the bottom of like the fourth page, contracted service agreement, project manager, board member 279, says at the bottom sentence, Mr. Campbell has experience with I would think it's be several of the software or server. I don't know what the
Several,
word.
yeah, it's gotta
Several.
be.
Several of the software
I know it's
platforms, yeah.
nitpicky, but
Let's get it
if I didn't
right.
catch it, Mr. Hodges would have.
You got him on that one, didn't you?
Yes.
Several,
To be honest, I don't read them that much.
correct?
It's too much.
He sat beside Gene all those years, so.
Gene
Gene
used to
did
take
it.
care of
Gene
all
was
that.
the one who
Gene, man,
did it
he-
all.
he
Got it
kinda-
now.
Yeah, well, we need somebody to, for sure. I mean, I missed that. I just didn't even see it. So, will you amend your motion and second to
Yes.
correct, to that correction?
Yes.
All right then, is there any further discussion? And on the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. So let's go through the consent agenda. Board memo number 290 is proximity learning for summer school instruction. This is the 4 core areas: English, language arts, math, science, and social studies. Each core can enroll up to 20 students, 6 through 12. It's live instruction for 4.5 hours each day for a duration of 6 weeks. There is an asynchronous instruction and lesson part for credit recovery. The quote includes the live instruction, the fees, software maintenance, and support. For summer 2023, there were 33 students enrolled. 30 of those obtained credit course for their courses. The quote for 2024 is $41,605.66 and will be funded by ARP funds. Board memo number 291 is a change in the last day of school for 23-24. We only had 4 snow days this year. There are 2 more built-in makeup days that haven't been used and can be deducted from the last day. So the last day for students will now be June 6th of 24. The Faculty Senate PD collaboration day is June 7th, 24. Teacher prep day is June 10th, 24. And TP day is June 11th, 24. Superintendent recommends approval. Board memo number 292 is the purchasing card transactions, which are attached for approval. Board member 293, which is the last item on the consent agenda, is the payment of invoices for March. These are the ones that have been written and are being held pending consideration by the school board. Checks will be issued upon the school board's approval. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move we approve.
There's a second, and there's a second. All right. Is there questions or comments about the consent agenda?
I have a question about the summer school. So these classes that we're talking about that are synchronous live instruction, those are not credit recoveries. Those are just if students want to take a class.
No.
Okay.
Just a point of understanding. Summer school, large and wholly is what I hold, but in large part, is for students that have failed courses.
That's what I thought, yeah,
So
okay.
this is a chance to take full service. If you remember, a couple of years ago, I think, 1.5 years ago, we actually put in place a policy or procedure practice that in order to participate in credit recovery, it required the teacher's recommendation. Because we had so many students that were just vegetating and saying, I'll just wait for the credit recovery, and teachers got really frustrated with the lack of effort. So now, that student would have to go through the summer school program, they cannot go through credit recovery, it has to take a teacher recommendation to attend the credit recovery program. Which means how they've made effort, and with just a little bit of support, these things they can earn that credit. But
So those are going on simultaneously over the summer?
yes, they're both available in the summer.
Okay.
And then credit recovery is also available in the school year, again with teacher recommendation.
So when there were 33 enrolled last year, that was for the
Yeah,
traditional
for
summer
summer
school?
yes.
Okay. And that doesn't include credit recovery?
No.
Is there a, I can't remember, is there a fee for those kids
Yeah, Mark,
or students?
we do charge a nominal fee, I think it was 200.
290, I think it said 293, didn't it?
Emily, 200 and 100 for financial strain. And, because we talked about not charging, we debated that back and forth, but we felt like kids need ownership. We provide a free public education in the school year, but if they felt that take advantage of that, then we thought they needed some summer.
Well, the reason I was going down that avenue, or asked that question, those kids that did not get a recommendation, if there was a higher price to pay, could it be available to those students also?
Credit recovery is free.
Oh, credit, well, during the summer?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Just summer school they
It's the
pay.
summer program, yes, the summer school program that,
I think that's what I was talking
yeah,
about.
but now we remember we have two different things now.
Right.
We have credit recovery in the summer, and then we also have the full-blown course instruction for 8,100 minutes. The 8,100-minute course is the one we charge for. Credit recovery, we do not.
Okay.
And if you've got grades that are below C's, credit recovery doesn't give you the opportunity to get your grade up to be sports eligible, but the other classes do. If they
Yes.
take the 80-some-100, so that they can go to
Well,
summer school.
remember, nothing replaces, based on SSSC policy, you average in that extra grade.
Right.
So, and if you have a failing grade of an F, you have to make an A in order to get to a C average between those two courses.
And that don't happen. They'll just sit out.
So but the asynchronous for credit recovery is done virtually as well? Is it,
But it's a list of assignments that the student completes on their own timeframe.
so there's no, because there's no virtual instruction?
There is no virtual instruction.
So who's coordinating that?
Ashley Vaughn, Dr. Vaughn.
No, I mean, who like coordinates what the student is, the assignments, and who's grading it and all that? Proximity does it? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Just like we do it when you think about our alternative program,
Mhm.
we actually have our core instruction where we have teachers, they log on at a set time. We have that also. But then for our electives, we have, it's asynchronous, so there are teachers that simply map out the course, provide the reading or the instructional program and then the assessment program. So that is done also.
I was gonna say something, they came in late, but,
Okay.
because one of the boys said that somebody.
So how many do you anticipate, if I understand this correctly, more enrollment in this, or about the
I don't know,
same?
you're right now, what we're, this.
You want to?
What we're
Well, I was gonna
asking
find the-
for, approval
They'll
of
wait
would be for a maximum, I think, of 6
Make
months.
sure they are though.
So last year we had 33 in the course, in the program. It's the
That
same price
information
up to-
sheet back, I
what
forgot to
we're
keep
looking at
it
is the
on
same
the
price,
RSVP.
up to 60 students.
Which one is your information sheets?
We can't hire a teacher for that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a great
And we
deal.
used to hire 4
I
and a
remember,
custodian and-
You wanna
and
keep the
cook.
letter?
I remember.
Yeah, well, we didn't do this.
I'll lose that now.
I forgot.
Custodian, teachers.
And the
And
admin.
we had an administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good deal. Any other questions about
Okay.
this?
Amy too.
Okay.
Trying to figure out, we should have gave them
We-
reward, I think.
Well, that's what I asked, because I
No,
didn't
they're-
want to embarrass them by doing a big public thing, but, sure. Okay, that works.
Thank you.
Getting those hours in.
Does he need
Yeah.
to do that in the middle of the meeting?
Well, I just want to make sure it wasn't that kid that he said once.
Oh,
coming
that was a
late,
guy,
remember?
that was a guy that was coming.
Yeah, lyric.
Okay. All right, so if there's no further discussion on the consent agenda, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. The next additional business on the agenda is Board Memo Number 294, which is the 24-25 Jason Learning District Package Renewal. It's time to renew our Jason Learning. The price, which is discounted, is $69,998. This will be paid for using ART funds for this year. It has been ESSER funds in the past. Superintendent recommends approval. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Questions, comments, or discussion?
Yes, just a request. Jason is something that is near and dear to Mr. Toman's heart and ours as we've learned more about it and seen it grow. But for $70,000, didn't we do kind of an update or where we were, what was going on, how many students were involved, et cetera. At some point, maybe we could do that again.
Yeah, I would love to do a session where I get you guys even on the site and do some lessons also. I think would be huge.
Yeah, I think some data about students using it in the classroom would be helpful too. Because I think we understand the benefits to the few that get to do the
Well, that's the
trips and
Argonauts,
stuff, but
the-
yeah.
but the whole,
Go ahead.
no, the whole Jason STEM consortium, the whole, or Jason core focus team, all that stuff is a piece of it. But I can get you the data of usage.
Yeah, I'd like to
And
see that.
that would be a matter of just getting hold of Matt Seeloff with Jason. I can get that to you.
Okay.
I know we're doing incredible job compared to other districts across the nation with it.
Good.
And that's a good piece with Rhonda Rogers and I think now Angie, and then Emily Huddle with Special Ed's done a lot with it also, so.
I can't find it now, but I wrote on it here in the notes, in-person professional development. Are we utilizing that? Are we
Absolutely.
getting that? Who's
We
these
had
Jason
trained,
people
we
coming
had,
through that?
I don't know if it's 8 people that trained the trainers. I can't think how many went to be trained to trainers and went on that. I was thinking, you're right in that sun's in your eyes, isn't it, right there? I know. But we had trained to trainers with Jason,
You
and
can
they
move
go out
back
and
if
do
you
that
want.
also, so. Brent, do you know off the top of your head, trained to trainers with Jason? Yeah. Yeah.
So we have 6 in-county people that can train, is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Do they renew the training each year, or is that a one-time thing?
All kind of, there's training constantly with that, so
Okay,
that's.
I thought there was, I just
yeah.
wondered.
Sure. It's been a benefit if, honestly, if you didn't renew it, it's,
You'd be mad.
I wouldn't be mad, but I don't think I'd get fed.
You'd be hurt. No,
No,
that's
I
true.
think
Yes, you'd be hurt. And the kids would be hurt.
Well,
You're getting outspoken in your old age.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
That's a true statement.
I would say, where are we without it the last 3 years? I think, or 2 years, I would beg to differ to argue that, but we're doing a lot of different things with STEM,
I'm not arguing that.
yeah.
If not this, then what? Because we gotta have STEM program. You know, I mean, you could say, well, each teacher can create their own STEM, but
Huh?
We're using it in our dual classes.
Your facilities used it a lot. I think if you want to get on and explore AI, there's a ABC song that's pretty dang cute. We just rolled out to pre-K, and if you want to look at that, I did it the other day. I thought Dr. Bowling would be singing it for hours because I was showing our pre-K teachers. It is pretty impressive, and it is a little more hip hop
We could have
for
a
some of
nice-
our kids.
We
That's
could listen to a nice duet.
I can pull it up right now if you want, Mr.
No, I was
Rogers.
talking about you singing it.
No, I think you need to see the video, and if Brent would do that, I would pull it up in a heartbeat if you want to.
Just send it to him.
Huh?
Just send it to him.
Yeah, but I
Are
think.
you saying you don't want it? Is that why you're saying send it to him?
No, I want to see him do it, but I would challenge you guys to look at all the different tiles out there and see what's going on. I got a meeting at 7:30 in the morning about a cybersecurity company that a guy used to work at the FBI. I got a meeting with him and Eleanor, Dr. Smalley, at 7 o'clock 7:30 tomorrow morning on a Zoom, and it's a possible of us bringing in $300,000 with Jason, and Rank One is the company that the guy started out of California. It's a facial recognition type thing.
So we teach cybersecurity more?
I think get kids aware of it because there's some stuff out there.
it's a
coming.
thing,
And
yeah.
it's what kids are interested in and what jobs are out there that we're not even aware of.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna be a growing field.
I met with Congress. We're gonna do cybersecurity as one of our goals.
Yeah.
Good.
I met with Congress today.
And they've got how many sites on the tiles out there of cybersecurity right now. The hard part is getting it out there to show our staff what's available, and they got to log on and just look, and that's
Well,
the
they're-
hard part.
Yeah, and they're busy doing a lot of different things, right?
Well, that's what TIFs should be doing, should they not? Isn't that the kind of thing that we pay our TIF instructors to do, is to find this stuff and disseminate it to our
And our
staff?
Concord teachers, if they want to get access to Jason Learning and those tiles, I'd be more than willing to share that. It's available to share with any partners that we have out there, so.
Okay, any other questions? Then on the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. Board Amendment number 295 is the one-time voluntary extension of PEA coverage. I thought this was a really good idea. As everybody knows, PEA
It's
coverage is
quality.
offered to employees on a fiscal year basis, July 1 to June 30th of each year. Due to the funding circumstances related to as everybody calls it, the COVID money, a larger number of service personnel will be affected by RIFs and transfers this year than normal. So the board can option to voluntarily extend coverage for 60 days to service personnel affected by RIFs, and this would allow them to maintain their coverage in July and August while we're trying to place them in full-time positions. It's already available to teachers through West Virginia Code, so it seems appropriate to extend it to the service employees. So the superintendent recommends that we voluntarily extend PEA coverage from July to August 24 for service personnel affected by RIFs in fiscal year 24. They will still be required to pay their portion of the premium. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, third.
I'm just circling everybody. And somebody a second, all right. Any further discussion? And on the motion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. Board Amendment number 296 is RFP 309, which is local and/or long distance, and 7 PRIs, primary rate interfaces for Mercer County schools. Proposals were sent to 2 vendors. We received 1 response from Frontier Communications, who is our current provider. There are no increase in charges from the previous RFP. The superintendent recommends RFP number 390, local and long distance service, and 7 PRIs to Frontier Communications. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions, comments, or discussion? Then on the,
On there, it's gonna be on there, and it's not. That bid included a fiber bid, so it's, you're probably aware, I know the administration's aware, we've been having some frontier issues with several of our schools with those PRIs, and the front lines going on, and we'll probably see the announcements. That was under copper, old copper lines. Frontier made it available to us to switch over to fiber for those PRIs. And we're gonna do that.
that's awesome.
They're very easily and very good move as far as storage on those front lines.
No doubt.
Being much worse than what we got, to be honest.
And that does include your outlying communities, schools?
It includes all areas. They bid on all, including Montcalm, including Pike Community College,
Lashmeet, Mattoga?
Woodville, Lashmeet, everybody.
That's great. That's great. Any other discussion? Then on the motion, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. Next 2 board memos. I'm sorry, I'm chewing these things in my mouth now. I was taught not to eat and speak at the same time. But as with all things, I paid no attention to what I was taught. So, Board Amendment number 297 is the abolishment of the Special Ed Assistant Director position. And Board Amendment number 298 is an adjustment of the Special Ed Supervisor to include working with and supporting building level administrators because of the abolishment of the Assistant Director of Special Education position. And the only reason I mention that is because if you're not going to do one, then we don't need to do 2. But if you're going to do one, we need to do 2. Make sense? Okay.
Can you explain it a little bit more?
I'm going to turn that over to the administration to explain.
You want me to get mad? No, I'm kidding.
You wanna get mad?
No, I don't get
I can
mad.
get you mad.
You were full of it lately.
When we get to personnel, I have a recommendation for,
Yeah, we saw that. I
gotcha, for the special ed director position. At the current time, that person is the assistant director. And we want to abolish that and not call it the assistant director because it's the exact same pay as the supervisor that we have in the system already. So we're going to have 2 supervisors in our system underneath the special ed director, Mr. Hodges.
The 2 supervisors
So
instead of
it'd
a
be actually the
supervisor
same
and
amount of
assistant.
personnel?
Yep.
Yes,
the same
yes,
pay.
yeah, just.
Just a different naming.
A different name. It's no pay difference, but just different names, and then I have a corrected posting that I laid separately on your board table prior to the meeting.
One supervisor would be secondary, one would be elementary.
I believe
is that
that's,
right?
that's correct. I think that's what we're
Is that
planning to look
correct?
at.
We got a nod, yes. It also cleans up chain of command and all that kind of things.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it just makes things flow better, as I understand it.
That's correct.
Anything else from anybody else? All right, then. Board Member 297 is the abolishment of the Special Education Assistant Director position. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Questions, comments, or further discussion? Then on the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. Board Amendment number 298 in furtherance of 297 will now adjust the description, the job description to include working with and supporting building level administrators. Superintendent recommends approval. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
Third.
Any further discussion? Then on the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. That motion carries 5 in favor and none opposed. We now have a couple of employee disciplinary hearing and personnel actions. Board Member number 299, Mr. Tobin.
President Furich, do you want me to just announce my recommendation on this one, or would you?
Please.
Yes, sir. I would, I'm recommending a 3-day suspension without pay for Julie Leach, a Bluefield Intermediate teacher, for violation of the Employee Code of Conduct and Mercer County School Board policy.
Okay, is there,
Those dates are already, has been served, March 12th, 13th, and 14th. Ask for your approval, President
okay.
Furich.
Is there any desire to go into executive session for this one and the next one to get more detail? There appears to be none. Okay. Then is there a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
I got a motion and a second.
You want to be nosy?
On the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise? Are you
No.
abstaining? No vote?
Abstain.
Okay. So that's 4 in favor, none opposed, and 1 abstention.
You know?
Okay.
Did you want to move
Board memo number 300 is an employee disciplinary hearing and personnel matter. Mr. Tobin.
President Furich, recommending a 3-day suspension without pay for Jesse Saucedo, a custodian at Montcalm Elementary, for violation of Mercer County policy and Employee Code of Conduct. Those dates have been served for March 15th, 18th, and 19th, President Furich.
Any desire to go into executive session on that one? Then is there a motion to approve?
it? So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions, comments, or further discussion? Then on the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Are you abstaining again? Okay. 4 in favor, none opposed, and 1 abstention. All right, Jacinda, you got this one?
Okay.
I'm leaving.
All right.
My family member is on.
Board memo number 301, personnel agenda. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
second? All right, motion and a second. Any questions or discussions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So we have, that passes 4 in favor, 1 not voting.
And Vice President St. Smith, congratulations, Ms. Huddle.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations
I got
to
you.
Mrs. Huddle on your new,
Yeah.
Miss Huddle.
Yes,
On
Miss
your new,
Huddle. Miss Huddle,
on your
sorry.
new, position.
Have y'all seen Lynn's desk? I'm not sure. Congratulations are in order.
And congratulations
Sympathies.
to Lynn. We've already congratulated her, but she's
Yes,
on the last week,
Sympathies.
right?
Congratulations ought to be good luck.
Yeah. It's a challenge, that's for sure. Okay, so we're into discussion and administrative notes.
Do we want to go back to that date, or you want to hit that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we
do
can
the
do
date.
that.
Let's do that
Sure.
now.
So my notes were April 22nd at 9, April 22nd to the 26th, 9, 10, or 11, any of those 5
The
dates.
best day for me would be the 22nd, but I could do
I can do the 22nd. I'm leaving town on the 24th, but I mean, you could do it without me, but.
And that's the night of a board meeting. Do you want to do it earlier, like 9 o'clock with Jason and
I
Dr.
can
Howard
do it
o'clock?
whenever.
Or 10 o'clock or whatever. They're open. Monday, the 22nd, Mr. Bailey.
I gotta get a calendar on my phone.
Oh, you need to. You have a calendar on your phone. You should
How long
use
is
it.
that?
Hour and a half is what he's thinking.
Let's do it at 10, then we can go to lunch.
10 o'clock. Mr.
Sounds
Bailey
good.
asked about 10 o'clock.
April 22nd?
About
Sounds
10
good to
o'clock,
me.
it'd be an hour and a half possibly.
Okay.
And what is this called again?
This is for the policy and procedure.
Policy
Working on
procedures manual?
Yes, and then going through the procedure of how they're going to do that and timeframes and what they're going to do for us.
Gotcha.
And they mentioned the other day, and President Purdich is on the SESC and talked about having them come present to a board meeting, and they mentioned to me, how about we just schedule a workshop and have all of you, and we work right through that
We're doing
process.
it 10?
10 on
Okay.
April
10.
22nd.
It will be at this location.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a it's a really good idea. It's something whose time has come. Our policy and procedure manual is unwieldy, and I'm not going to go into the great detail about what their plan is, but it's a very thoughtful approach to this, so we don't get overwhelmed with too much too fast. But they'll get into more of the nitty gritty of it.
Rosemary, you'll put us down for being in here? Thank you.
Okay.
And any other discussion go through, Dr. Bowling, anything? Mrs. Wellman?
Very briefly, and Brent probably covered this more than I, but meeting you approved allowing Grant Campbell to work to help with some software issues.
Mhm.
And understanding is he's been primarily a technician, and they've been great to work with. They've been efficient, and he's made some good progress helping with their routing software. So,
No, just, we're trying to leverage his expertise. He's had some use cases from previous experience and trying to put that to use in personal
What was that?
stuff.
Is that fast?
And we're continuing to move on the other
See if they can be giant
software.
cameras.
Slowly but surely.
David or
We're-
Grant.
as the HTML is getting very, very fast. They're great to work with, actually. That's about it. Well, other than we're undergoing our FY '23 audit right now, and working on budgeting and our monitoring right now as well, so everybody's been keeping me very hard. Lots of uploading, lots of teamwork, very, very good teamwork.
Mr. Atkins?
Really, the only thing I had to add was about Timberwood.
Good.
It's going really well. Some of the notes that we were getting from Dr. Bowling, grade beams were actually 100% complete and everything now, so they finished those.
How's the concrete coming? Is it doing better?
Yeah, that's what I talked about earlier. We're good to go on concrete.
Good. Good. Dr. Atkins, I'm sorry.
Is that a technical term?
No, I was gonna say. That's a construction term.
It's a construction, technical term.
That board meeting too, so it's your three bus drivers. That would be the
22nd.
the 8th
Concept vocabulary.
meeting.
Not like my
And
call.
she get posted right, and then we can know where we're at. Get rolling quicker.
Oh, one other thing, SBA is coming tomorrow. I'm meeting with them for the Oakville project. They're just doing their annual
Be
inspection.
three
for
of
Oakville
it after
project.
that meeting, you know what I mean? So you get one riff, I'm sorry,
So we have
or one
expulsion hearings that day.
one right now, yeah.
What day
There'll
is
be
that?
3 or 4 by the time we get there.
I don't know if we will that late. We'll move them back later in the week, President Pooch.
What day is that?
I just don't want to be here 6
Me
hours.
either, me either.
Okay, let's do that.
We'll put, okay, Dr. Atkins, I'm sorry. Anything? You asked about personnel hearings earlier. We're looking to do those during that date of the 8th, and right now, members of the board, it looks like we have 3. that requested personnel hearings, so.
Are those gonna be before the meeting?
We're
Is that what
thinking
you're
of
talking
doing
about?
those during the meeting of the 8th. and
During the meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Because you have one expulsion hearing at
At 5 o'clock.
at 5.
Right,
So that's a temporary
For
plan if you
now.
guys are good for that.
sure.
It's dependent on expulsion hearings, right? If we get loaded down.
Yeah, if I get any more the next 2 or 3 days, ultimately you got 10 days, so spring break doesn't count in that, so it moves back later in that week.
Okay.
So we gotta watch that,
Sure.
to have a hearing on that Monday, really you only gave them due process for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and then you got break, so that's not
Say, we already-
early enough. We
That's
bypass.
4.
What are you telling them for? I was keeping a secret. I was trying to make it positive, so. He just let me know beforehand. So we will not add those 4 and go backwards on that day of a hearing. I
Okay,
just don't
all
think
right.
that's,
That'll work.
that's
Also, we
proper.
have 4 more coming down the pike, but not that soon,
Yep.
possibly. Okay.
You'd think the message would get out, wouldn't you?
That doesn't seem to be working.
Well, I mean,
Not yet, anyway.
maybe we're not harsh enough. I don't know.
And Dr. Atkins, did you have anything else? No? No? Mr. Browning?
No, so I'm good.
Mrs. Bell?
I'm
Nothing?
chomping at the bit. Very
Yes,
full.
you are. Thank you. You get up and stand up, tell them about it. It's pretty good what you got right there.
We had monitoring last week, and I'm so excited to report out. There was 4 for the state team in the schools and 2 in central office, so a team of 6. And on the first day, their introductory meeting started off by telling us the first words out of their mouth was that they were coming to find our challenges. So immediately, oh gosh, but, and that they would find challenges and they would report those challenges to the State Department and to the feds. So I'm excited to tell you what challenges they only found. One of the first things they said after that was, on Friday, we did the interview with the exit interview with all the reports. They reported that we were absolutely one of the best counties they've ever monitored.
Wow, that's awesome.
Luckily, I don't know why, but I just wanted to record it in case I forgot what they said, and so we do have that recording if anybody wants to hear it.
I love
Had a
it.
visit, and they kept saying over and over that it was the most enjoyable visit they've ever had on the county, and that they came and saw what they wanted to see.
That's
And that was their
wonderful.
exact words. So, some of the highlights that they wanted to talk about was that all the schools did a great job. They were impressed that we even give the DIPs to the janitors, the custodian, the cooks, and the bus drivers. They, were really impressed about how mental health is, taking place, and it shows throughout the schools. That, most of the kids were the most respectful of any schools they've ever been in, and did not show any fear of talking to him, speaking to him, saying hello, things. He said it's obvious that the culture is phenomenal in our area. They saw no use of cell phones that were inappropriate. We had great representation of the special ed on the leadership teams. They observed, amazing rapport with our kids from both the general ed, special ed, and administrations. An example of one of the cultures that they saw, they said there was a student that evidently had been out absent for a few days in one of the special ed rooms, and they had asked something about his schedule, and they looked out the window and they saw him getting out of the car, he'd been in the hospital, and everybody starts fist pumping and bumping him, and saying his child's name, and
Aww.
you know, to show camaraderie between each other. Pike Middle School was, noted as being the role model for any county or any school in the state.
Wow.
PBIS. They said they had the, perfect ideal PBIS program going. They had consistent rewards. They could articulate what was going on with the program. They said if anybody needs to set up a program, they need to contact them. So that was awesome for them. They loved the posters that we have posted throughout every school about QR posters where the kids could scan, and if they needed help with any type. And they said all the lesson plans were great with standards and appropriate high-level thinking, appropriate use of accommodation modification checklists, multiple opportunities for kids to be successful and to feel safe. The schools were clean, and they liked how the teachers in all the schools were out in the hallway in class changes, and they loved that we have the 1% program for our, unique for our, 1% kids. The challenges, hold on, because they're not finished, and the other two I'm gonna say, but one was just a service verification, which, like one school had one class that their first period was 62 minutes instead of 60, and the minutes of the IEPs were based on 60. So each class was over about 2 minutes.
Well, you're looking for something, aren't you?
And then we didn't have an official process to collect the VIP data, which is just kind of a suggestion of a best practice. Boom, that's it.
That's awesome.
Good.
Somebody give her a mic to drop.
Yeah.
Throttle out and give it, keep the horn for us.
Yeah, that's a good report to retire on. huh?
Outstanding,
I
outstanding.
may write up some other little things, but that was what they went on, wasn't it? That's what they said.
I know you mentioned it
Outstanding.
before, but what, you said there's 4 schools, and you mentioned it, and I forgot.
There's
Lakeview
4
Middle,
people in the schools, it's 3 schools, they.
3 schools?
They get data from everywhere, I uploaded for 2 weeks.
Right.
From every school, but they actually went in, Bluefield Intermediate, Lakeview Middle, and, Montcalm High.
Wow,
Kudos.
I'm proud of Mr. Kane.
that's
Yeah,
great.
that's wonderful.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
So do we get an award or something? I mean,
I hope so.
Good.
When they reported the challenges to the feds in the state.
The other reward is the supervisor gets to
Good.
go out.
yeah.
The director. Mr. Murphy, anything? No. Mr. Browning? Good. Pretty, Ms. Mitchell just came back from a pretty successful weekend, right? A few days running.
They needed I was gonna say, they needed a tractor trailer to get the medals back. Wow,
Great job.
dominated.
State advisor a couple of years,
Yeah.
everyone, and 2 state officers.
That's awesome.
We're really proud.
Am I wrong, but then in some categories, we got gold, silver, and bronze?
We did.
I thought so. That's
We're
dominating.
excited that Mr. Belcher back there, because we want middle school to be part of skills. We want to take some middle school kids to
There you go. Well, that's what we need to be doing. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
on board today on the dual credit and things like that. They're gonna work with us on 4 different pathways. We don't have social work here, but they're gonna try to help us bring that about, so that we can have a teacher that can come here and do some social work. But cybersecurity and then the education, grow your own, and then healthcare occupations, they are getting on board with us. So they kind of walked away from that, where we had to send the kids to them, and they had to be at school there all day, and, you know, it just, we explained their concerns with that, so, we're hoping to have a meeting in the next week with the different department heads in those areas, so they'll come here and we bring them lunch, they'll come and sit down with us and look at the crosswalks, but it's much more positive than it has been. The other schools, Bluefield State, Marshall, WVU, and East River, they're just plugging right along with us.
Outstanding.
That's it, President Pritch.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else to come before the board this evening?
You ready for Paul?
Move we adjourn.
Is there any objection to Paul's motion? You know, Paul had a string of like 75 meetings in a row, and he blew it up the
Broke
other
it last
day.
week, yeah.
He's got the record, now he's gotta start a new one.
And he's still mad.
If there's no objection, we're adjourned.
I was having a good conversation.
Funny stuff, man.
The 125 students that were down in enrollment, is that typical